Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Mars Hoops here, and today we are back with another looking back at draft grades. In this one, we are going to be looking back at the 2015 NBA draft. This is also a Bleacher Report. It's by Jonathan Wasserman. And this was just after the draft as well. So let's hop straight into it. With the first pick, we're only going to be doing the top 14 teams because by pick. So we'll review all their draft picks. But yeah. Alright, so with the first pick and the 24th pick, Minnesota Timberwolves selected Karl-Anthony Towns and Tyus Jones. So obviously we know that Karl-Anthony Towns did turn into the best player in this draft, in my opinion. He would be a 3-time All-Star if he did not suffer that injury, but he is a 2-time All-Star. His only downside is his defense and his leadership, as he has not been able to lead the Minnesota Timberwolves to the playoffs without Jimmy Butler. But but overall he is arguably the best scoring big in the NBA, and he is just overall a very solid player and the best player in this draft. With the 24th overall pick, they drafted Tyus Jones. Well, the Cleveland Cavaliers did, but Tyus Jones has turned into a solid I just dropped my mouse. Sorry if you guys did hear that. Overall, Tyus Jones has turned into a solid rotational piece for Minnesota and Memphis, as he is on Memphis right now. But there isn't really much to say about him. So with the number 2 pick, the second overall pick, the Los Angeles Lakers did draft D'Angelo Russell. In the 27th pick, they did draft Larry Nance Jr., and we're not going to even bother about the 34th overall pick. They gave this an A. I would give this an A minus, only because D'Angelo Russell isn't on the team anymore. D'Angelo Russell has turned into an all-star with the Nets, but I would give this an A plus if he was still doing this on the team. But obviously Magic Johnson did opt to trade him so they can clear the point guard spot for Lonzo. Speaking of Lonzo, I'll leave a link to the 2017 NBA draft grade in the description below. Go and check that out if you guys want to see more of these videos. Also, I know I was just saying something, but I'll do a quick plug. Also, if you guys like these, if we can get to 10 likes, I will do the 2016 draft class, and we can move on from there. But let's get back into the video. D'Angelo Russell, like I was saying, he did turn into an all-star, but he did not turn into an all-star with the Lakers. He had a bit of a down year this year because he not fit into the Warrior system, and he ended up getting traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. But overall, D'Angelo Russell is probably the second best player in this draft. Maybe even third if you guys say Porzingis is the second best, but he is a very solid player. Larry, hold on. Larry Nance, he is an okay backup power forward. He hasn't proved much in the league, except that he has insane athleticism, just like his dad. But there isn't really much to say about him. He's a solid player, and yeah, that's pretty much all we can really say about him. Nothing really to say about Anthony Brown, so we're just gonna skip him. Alright, with the third pick, the Philadelphia 76ers did select Jahlil Okafor, and then with the 35th pick, they did choose Richaun Holmes, who's on the 76ers, and that's the only two I remember. They give this a B. Let's just look at the other players quickly. Don't know who this is. Don't know much about this guy. Alright, so the rest of the guys are not really have turned much into this league. So Jahlil Okafor, he did have a very good season in his rookie year, but he did obviously get suspended, so he did not play a full season. But Jahlil Okafor, his skill set just isn't really for the modern day league, as his skill set is more of a 90s skill set. The three ball is crucial for all five players on the court. They all need to have somewhat of a shot, or it's pretty good if they do have a 3-point shot. There's only a couple players that can get away without having a 3-point shot, or at least a consistent one. Obviously Giannis did not have a consistent one in the past couple years, but even he is developing one. But you need a Giannis skill set to be able to stay 2018, 2019 Giannis, because obviously this season before it was canceled, he did develop a sort of a 3-point shot. But you need a skill set like him to be in the league and to be a star in the league with no jump shot. But obviously Jahlil Okafor is not like that. Like I was saying before, his skill set did not really transcend into the league like the Sixers thought it would. So he did. He is widely considered one of the worst draft busts, and he's currently holding on to his NBA career, just barely though. And I'm pretty sure he is on the Pelicans, but he ain't really getting too much playing time there. So we'll talk about Richaun Holmes for a little bit. Richaun Holmes is a very good starting center, or no, backup center for the Phoenix Suns, but he's just like Larry Nance or any of those guys. He's a solid player. Like him, unlike Jahlil, he does have somewhat of a mid-range shot, but Jahlil didn't develop a shot, so that's why he's stuck. But Richaun Holmes, with his nice mid-range shot and his superb strength, he is one. He's very athletic, and he's arguably better than Jahlil Okafor. Actually, there is no argument. He is better than Jahlil Okafor, and yeah, there's no argument. He is probably the best 76er pick in this draft. Alright, with the 4th pick, the New York Knicks drafted Kristaps Porzingis, and they give this a B as well. Obviously, in hindsight, this should be an A, as he is one of I'm pretty sure he's one of the only 3 players to make an all-star team in this draft. He is obviously, before the ACL tear, he was the Knicks' best player for sure, but after that ACL tear, it just went downhill for his career with the Knicks. He did end up getting traded, but he's looking very solid with the Dallas Mavericks. He is that second player that Luka needs on his team. So it's fair to say he did bounce back from that ACL tear very well, and I would give this an A, obviously, because he did turn into arguably the second best player in this draft. Like I said earlier, depending on how you see it, it can flip flop between him and Russell, but yeah, he's having a very good career. Hopefully next year he can make another all-star team and turn into that Bosh to LeBron kind of player for the team. Alright, with the 19th pick, they got Jerian Grant out of Notre Dame. Jerian Grant is a solid point guard, I guess. He ain't really much. His brother Jeremy Grant is obviously the better out of the 2. Pretty sure there's 3 in the league. I don't remember, but Jerian Grant hasn't really turned into much, and he's alright. I'm pretty sure I don't even think he's in the league anymore, but I don't know. I'll put that on the screen if he is on the team or not. But with the 35th pick, they got Billy Hernan-Gomez. He is currently on the Hornets, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he is their starting center or backup center. I don't know if they have Zeller starting, but there wasn't really much of there isn't really much to say about him, so we're just going to move on to the 5th pick, which was Mario Hezonja. They gave him an A-. Obviously, right now, that's probably at most a D, because Hezonja did not turn into much into this league. He's not really a good player. Pretty sure he is on the Trailblazers right now, but after 2 seasons with the Magic, they just renounced his rights, and he went to the Knicks. Didn't really do much there, and he's obviously a very big draft bust, and probably the second biggest draft bust on the way you view it. Maybe even a worse draft bust than Okafor, but he did not really turn into much into this league. They say he's a knockdown shooter on the wing. Just none of his skills really transcended into this league, and I would give this a D. He did not turn into anything in this league. Alright, with the 6th pick, they Sacramento Kings chose Willie Cauley-Stein. At the time, this didn't make any sense because they still had DeMarcus Cousins on the team. They gave this a B+. Yeah, like I said, they had DeMarcus Cousins on the team at the time, so it didn't make any sense. He's a solid big man, starting big man. Pretty sure he's on the Mavericks now because he did get traded from the Warriors, but he hasn't really shown enough. I wouldn't consider him a bust. I would give this a C at most. I wouldn't consider him a bust, but he's a disappointment because I wouldn't give him the bust because unlike Okafor and Zonia, he has turned into a solid starting big man, but other than that, there isn't really much to say about him. He hasn't turned into anything special. He's just your average big man. And yeah. Alright, the Denver Nuggets selected Emmanuel Mudiay with the 7th pick. Okay, this is another player I would give a C minus. I guess I'll give him a C minus at most. Emmanuel Mudiay, he's in his first season. He was very inefficient. Sorry, I'm yawning. He is very inefficient, and that led him leaving the Nuggets and going to the Knicks. In his first season, he did start, I remember, but after when they got Jamal Murray, his minutes did go down in his sophomore season, and he ended up going to the Knicks. And on the Knicks, there wasn't really much to say about him because the Knicks just had a bunch of point guards at the time. They had Trey Burke, Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., so he did not really do much there either, and now he's on the Jazz, and I don't know much about how he did on the Jazz, but he's turned into a meh guard at most. There isn't really he hasn't really shown the skill that he did show in high school and in China. Yeah, they said he had all-star potential. Obviously, we know he did not turn into an all-star. Yeah, like his shooting was always his weakness, and he never really improved on that. And he's always been very inefficient. So, like I said earlier, I would give him a C minus. The Detroit Pistons selected Stanley Johnson. They also gave this a B plus. Stanley Johnson, he fell into the same problem that Jahlil Okafor fell into. Didn't have a shot. Not much was going for him because like I said earlier when I was speaking about Jahlil Okafor, you need a shot in this league to be at least an average player. Literally, I would say a good 70% in the league is able to shoot in a mid-range. But he did not have that shot, and he needed that shot more than Okafor needed it because he is a wing player, and defense there's only a couple players that could make it with only defense, and the main one being Roberson, but I don't think he had the same defensive potential that Roberson possessed. Like, Roberson is an elite defender. He is a decent defender, like above average defender. And you being above average defender and not having a shot ain't looking too good for you. He's on the Raptors currently, and it looks like his career is going to end if he can't develop any shot. So, yeah, let's move on. The Charlotte Hornets selected Frank Kaminsky They got a B. Pretty sure he did win the. Pretty sure he won the Naismith Player of the Year in college at Wisconsin. Kaminsky, he did not turn into what they thought he was going to be. Obviously, he was an older player, and him being an older player, he did not have as much room to grow as other players in this draft that were younger, freshmen. He was a senior, but he's turned into a alright big man. I'm pretty sure he's on the Suns now, and he's turned into a, unlike the other players without shots like Julio, he does have somewhat of a shot, but somewhat of a shot will keep him in the league for 5 more seasons, I would say, at most, and then he's out the league. I would give this a C- as well, because they also had the chance of getting, this is crazy, the Celtics wanted Justice Winslow so much. They were willing to trade so many picks, but Michael Jordan turned it down. So this is a C-, D+. Frank Kaminsky did not turn into much of an NBA player, and yeah. The Miami Heat selected Justice Winslow. Justice Winslow, he's listed as a small forward, but his issue is he's not a small forward. He's more of a point guard, and he had a lot of injuries, and those injuries were keeping him off the court, and he did not develop into what he was supposed to be. He did show some upside. Hold on, sorry. He did show some upside in the last season, 2018-2019, when he was moved to point guard. He showed that he was playing. It showed that he was playing much better than when he was at small forward. But then, of course, he did get injured, and currently in his 5th season, 2019-2020, he did end up getting traded to Memphis for Andre Iguodala. I don't know if he can live up to the potential that he did have. Obviously, Memphis isn't in need for a point guard. He fell into the same situation that Tyreke Evans fell into. They were playing him at a wing player, wing. He was being played at the wing positions when he is naturally a point guard, and it's shown that they have played better when they're at that point guard position, but they just get moved back to those wing positions when they're on teams that aren't in need of point guards. So if he can get moved to a point guard again, and I see him turning into a starting point guard at most, but I don't know what's gonna happen to him if he keeps on being played at the wing positions, because that is not naturally his position. He's so much better at the point guard. So I would give this a C+, B-, because he did also have injuries that stunt his growth. If he didn't have those injuries, he could have maybe lived up to somewhat of his potential that he did show. So now we're going to move on to the 11th pick, which is the Indiana Pacers chose Miles Turner. All right. B. I would give this a B plus, honestly, because they say here that he had boom or bust potential. He's I would say he's more on the boom side because Miles Turner is an elite defender. He's one of the best defenders, center defenders in the league, big man defenders, whatever you want to say. He did lead the league in blocks last season, and he was pretty close this season. And he has turned into a very, 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 very good center in this league. He still has that all-star potential in him. I would give this a B plus, A minus. He still has the all-star potential in him, as long as he can develop more on the offensive game. Unlike most of the centers in this draft, he actually does have a jump shot, and he's a decent three-point shooter. Only other shooters that are at the big man positions in this lottery were Karl-Anthony Towns and Kaminsky, but he's much better than Kaminsky. He is a very good player. I see him making an all-star team in the next 3 years. I can see him making the all-star team in the next 2 years, 3 years, as long as he can develop more on the offensive side. But he is an amazing defender. If he improves a little more on the defensive side, I can see him being first team all defensive down the road. He's going to have a very solid career. People are saying that he did not develop like he was supposed to, but he is having a very good career so far. So I don't know what those people are saying. He is a very good defensive player, very good, very good shooter for the big man, and they got a pretty good steal at this pick. He could have gone much higher, and but he obviously didn't. Alright, with the number 12 pick, the Utah Jazz selected Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles, he's also a fellow Canadian, so I have some respect for the Canadians because obviously I am Canadian. But Trey Lyles, I would give this a B minus because he did not turn into his potential is not, he hasn't hit that potential yet. I don't even know if he'll hit that potential, but if we're looking at the team's perspective, I would give this a B plus because they did end up trading him. He got Donovan Mitchell, and Donovan Mitchell obviously was one of the best players in the 2017 draft. Oh, I forgot. I thought I did all the lottery in the other draft, but in the other episode, sorry. That just came to my mind. I guess we're doing all the lottery in this draft. But Trey Lyles, if we're going from a player perspective, I would give this a B minus because Trey Lyles hasn't hit his potential that he did have, and he did show in Kentucky. But maybe if he is maybe under Pop, he can turn into a solid player. Maybe he'll turn into a late bloomer. We don't know. But as of right now, he's more of a solid rotation piece than a lottery pick in this draft. And especially after who was drafted after him. I forgot that they did draft Devin Booker, Devin Booker is definitely the second best player in this draft. I did forget about him. Sadly, I did forget about him. He is the second best player in this draft. And yeah, Devin Booker, this is an A+ for the Suns for sure. Devin Booker is one of the best scorers in the league, guard scorers in this league. He has showed that he has turned into a solid playmaker. He's shown that he can score with the best of them. Obviously, he did have that 70-point game 2 years ago, and there isn't really much to say about Devin Booker because I'm pretty sure everyone knows about him and how he is an amazing player. And also, he's only 23. Yeah, Devin Booker is the second best player in this draft. And finally, he did make his first All-Star game. Not, obviously, he was an injury replacement, but Devin Booker is the second best player in this draft. They say he was reminiscent of J.J. Redick. Obviously, he turned into a much better player than J.J. Redick. No offense, J.J., you're a good player, but Devin Booker is on another level. He is the second best player in this draft. All right, and finally, with the 14th pick, I don't even know what to say about him. Cameron Payne, this is a D. This is an F. Cameron Payne is not a good player at all. He's been bouncing around the league. I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. He's probably out the league for all we know. Devin Booker, Cameron Payne is a terrible point guard, and there isn't really much more to say about him. He's terrible. Anyways, guys, that is it for today's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and that's it for me, and peace.